Ah, the good old buy now, pay later scheme. That's exactly what we need in our country right now. You have companies like Afterpay and companies like Klarna that are offering these services where you can buy a product regardless of its price. You can even buy a sandwich through something like DoorDash, and you can make four easy payments within a certain time frame, and you won't have to pay any interest. And a lot of Americans are getting sucked into this financial black hole after a lot of people have already maxed out their credit cards and they have extremely high car payments and mortgage payments and insurance payments, and the list goes on and on. Inflation, groceries, gas prices still relatively high, historically speaking. So, in this video, I'm going to get into Klarna. So, what is Klarna? Klarna, it is a buy now, pay later service that allows consumers to pay for products in installments without interest or to pay over time with interest. It is a Swedish payment service provider that offers multiple payment plans, including Klarna Pay in 4, Klarna Pay in 30, and Klarna monthly payments. So you get three different options, I guess. Klarna works by dividing the total cost of your purchase into smaller installments when you check out in the Klarna app or from an online retailer or store. Depending on the payment plan you select, you may need to make the first installment at checkout, and additional installments are automatically billed to your payment method, though you can also make manual payments from the app. You can pay in four installments due every 2 weeks, or you can pay in full within 30 days, or you can pay monthly with terms up to 24 months. And Klarna is available online and in stores for purchases between $35 up to $1,000, and it is accessible through the Klarna app or website. The service is popular among consumers who appreciate its convenience and flexibility with over 85 million active users worldwide. However, some financial experts caution that using Klarna can lead to overspending and debt. And they certainly are. A lot of people are falling deeply into debt, and Klarna is only making the situation worse and worse and worse. So over here on X, according to Dexerto, Dexerto, on May the 20th, Klarna's losses have doubled in quarter one after $136 million in customer debts went unpaid. So, like I suspected, people are getting into debt and they're in so much debt already, they just simply can't pay for it. This is just another avenue for people to just eke by just a little bit longer, and they're using it for buying food and things like that. It's getting crazy out there, man. This this is from the user you suck ass 99. It's his name, not mine. According to him, Klarna cuts jobs for AI. That massively fails. And then Klarna wants people to come back as contractors, not as employees. Yeah, Klarna deserves it. Yeah, I mean, if that's really what's happening, yeah, they actually do deserve it. And according to the Quest here on X, on the X platform, who would have ever thought allowing people to finance $80 items would be a bad idea? Yeah, no shit. And with Zubik here, also on May 20th, maybe they can pay off the losses in three easy installments. They being Klarna. Yeah, why don't you just pay off your $136 million in debt in just three easy payments or within 30 days or whatever the third option is? And here's another one from Tech Freak. Klarna is not doing well. Klarna's AI replaced 700 workers, and this happened relatively recently. Now the fintech CEO wants humans back after a $40 billion fall. Holy crap! Klarna CEO Sebastian uh, Siemiatowski admitted the company's AI-heavy approach to customer service went too far, leading to a drop in quality. The fintech firm is now rehiring human agents through a remote on demand model while continuing to integrate AI across operations. So yeah, this whole AI push, it's backfiring, especially on the customer service front. I mean, do these people never learn? This goes all the way back to even like the 1990s when you would call, I don't know who, like Best Buy or whatever. I don't mean to throw them out there. I know they have real humans on the other end, at least they used to. But you get these giant companies where you call their customer service number and you get that typical robot. Hi, how can I help you? Can you tell me in 3 words or less? Or just briefly describe the problem. And every single time you describe the problem to them, they always say, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you said. Or I didn't hear that. Please repeat. And here, let me give you a list of menu items that you can select from. And none of it's ever what you really need. And you just have to keep yelling, customer service, human, human. Oh my God, human, human, human. And eventually you finally get a hold of one. But I mean, they that was years and years ago. And there's still a lot of companies who still pull those tactics, but they think AI is going to be just this huge game changer where you can have this in-depth conversation with a computer, but the customer is none the wiser. They just think they're talking to a real person. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think that AI is still it's still probably going to be quite a ways before people are really convinced that they're talking to something or some entity that's really going to help them with whatever problem that they have. Who knows? But anyway, with this dude Alex, when you target when your target market is the financially irresponsible, you should expect financial irresponsibility. Amen to that. That is so very true. And let's see, I've got some information here. I used Grok on X to compile some information like I did in the last video. So I asked it, what are some of the downsides of using Klarna? And this is the information that I got back. Using Klarna, a buy now, pay later BNPL service, it has several potential downsides. Number one, risk of overspending. Klarna's flexible payment plans can encourage impulse buying, leading to purchases beyond one's budget. This can result in financial strain if payments aren't managed carefully. It also comes with late fees and penalties. Missing payments can incur late fees up to $7 per missed installment, capped at 25% of the purchase amount. Unpaid balances may also be sent to collections, damaging credit scores. Yeah, so if you miss if you miss your $30 restaurant order or whatever, you're going to be sent to collections over lunch, over something as ridiculous as that. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, this is how crazy things are getting. Welcome to the dystopia. So another one is interest on longer plans. While Klarna's short-term plans, such as Pay in 4, are typically interest-free, longer financing options, which can be between 6 and 36 months, can carry high interest rates, up to 29.99% APR, increasing the total cost, which at that percentage, it's a freaking credit card at that point. Klarna can also impact your credit score. It performs soft credit checks for most plans, which don't affect credit scores. However, missed payments or defaults on longer term financing can be reported to credit bureaus, potentially lowering your score. Let's see, Klarna also has limited merchant availability. It's only accepted by participating retailers, which may restrict its usability compared to traditional payment methods like credit cards. Also, debt accumulation. Frequent use of Klarna across multiple purchases can lead to overlapping payment plans, making it harder to track and manage total debt. Another one being customer service issues, which we just touched on. Some users report difficulties reaching Klarna's customer support or resolving disputes, which can be frustrating if issues arise. Yeah, apparently, AI is not all it's cracked up to be. And there's the potential for hidden costs. Promotional offers may not always clarify terms, and users might overlook fees or interest rates, especially with extending financing plans. And finally, with number 9 here, it encourages debt culture. Absolutely. Buy now, pay later services like Klarna can normalize borrowing for everyday purchases, potentially fostering unhealthy financial habits. Yeah, like indentured servitude, for instance. Just perpetually in debt, just for your whole life. You're just constantly in debt, just tied to the debtor. To mitigate these risks, users should carefully review terms, track payments, and ensure they can afford installments before using Klarna. So here's some recent posts from X reflecting negative experiences with Klarna, capturing user frustrations and complaints. This first person, Sandra Actress, this was on May 22nd of 2025. Klarna hates disabled people. Their customer services assistants are told not to give a shit about disabled people. And the next one, Sloths for Sale, same date, preying on people with little to no income and making items seem tangible, causing more debt. Fuck y'all. And another one from Ravo, described being charged $236 for a non-existent purchase with Klarna, unable to find purchase history and continuing to charge them, leading to blocking Klarna from their card. They wrote, and this is what Ravo wrote, they couldn't even find the history of my purchases from their end. Crazy. The next one from AM_Pines. The returns process is so messy with Klarna. Getting refunds is a shit show. They will literally block you. Wow. The next one, Ross Fox Husky, quote, choosing to subject furries to upwards of 20% APR to satisfy instant gratification is ridiculous. So that's just a few examples of people who are complaining about Klarna on X. So moving on, what are some good things though? I mean, we heard the bad things about Klarna, and there are plenty of them, but what are some of the good things about Klarna, if any? I mean, according to Grok on X, it came up with a few things at least that could be good about using Klarna. Based on user experiences shared on X and general insights about Klarna's buy now, pay later service, here are some of the key benefits of using Klarna. Number one, flexible payment options. Klarna allows users to split purchases into interest free installments, such as pay in four, making it easier to afford larger purchases without upfront costs. Users on X, like EMZ Cakes One, have praised this for managing cash flow, such as covering grocery or delivery costs before payday. Yeah, I mean, if you're falling on hard times, and if you're trying to get by just to get to your payday, I could kind of see that as being tolerable, but it just goes back to the whole like fostering debt culture, especially if you can't buy what you want. I mean, I get buying what you need. If you need to eat and your paycheck isn't going to show up in a few days, I mean, that's one thing. But if you want this new, like a fancy iPhone or a brand new flat screen TV or something, and if you only have like $200, but it costs $800, well, guess what? You can't afford it. You don't buy it. You have to live within your means. We're not living in, the 2010s anymore. We're in the 2020s now, dude. Times are tough. Times are getting worse. So only buy what you can afford. And I know I'm supposed to be talking about the good things about Klarna, not the bad things. So anyway, I'll try to keep on track. No interest on short-term plans. For short-term plans like Pay in 4 or Pay in 30, Klarna typically charges no interest, which users find appealing compared to credit cards with high APRs. This was noted by users who use Klarna for one-off purchases like appliances. Another one is the convenience and accessibility. So Klarna is integrated with many popular retailers, allowing seamless checkout. Users appreciate the ease of spreading costs for items like furniture or electronics, as seen in posts about smooth experiences with kitchen deliveries or tech purchases. Another good thing about Klarna is the soft credit check. For most plans, Klarna uses soft credit checks that don't impact credit scores, making it accessible to users with limited or no credit history. This is a plus for younger or financially cautious shoppers. Another one is budget management. Klarna's app and reminders help users track payment schedules, which some find useful for staying organized. The next one is promotional offers. Klarna occasionally offers discounts or cashback with partner retailers, which users on X have cited as an incentive for using the service, such as during holiday shopping. Next one, buyer protection. Klarna provides some buyer protection. That sounds kind of loaded. Like assistance with returns or refunds if merchants don't deliver as promised, which adds a layer of security for online shopping. And the last one encourages responsible spending. Yeah, okay. When used, yeah, okay, in parentheses, yeah, when used wisely, which I'm sure the vast majority of people are not doing. For disciplined users, Klarna can help avoid credit card debt by offering predictable, fixed payments without interest on short term plans, as noted by users who use it sparingly for planned purchases. Yeah, I'm sure the vast majority of people are not doing that. So anyway, here's a few posts where X users have shared positive experiences and praise for Klarna. So the first one is Dapo El Capo, May 22nd. All of these are going to be from May 22nd. Klarna literally just fronts you the bread, lets you split it over 4 payments, and charges you like $1 service fee, or lets you pay over 3 to 12 months with extremely low interest rates. This is one corporation I will stand behind. The next one from Kujana, responding to a discussion, they said, let's see, at user and at another user. So they're replying to somebody else's post. And they said, why though? Klarna is so convenient and good. Helped me make big purchases without having to pay the whole thing up front. And the next user, Da Real Tyson. Y'all done fuck up a good thing. I love Klarna. I like the system of you can pay whenever, cause the others, they give you a fixed date, at least with Klarna. If during the month I get a little cash and I can just pay it. I always pay back. I think they need to have requirements to use. And the next one from Amazing. I love Klarna. I get a free trial for 2 months for Clear right before my trips. Not familiar with Clear. Right before my trips, I'm assuming it may obviously have to do with travel. And the last one, Dr. D0M3. Klarna helped me out so much and even got me out of a bind when I had financial trouble caused by my car breaking down. The people abusing Klarna will affect people who use it as intended, and it will become worse for all of us once they make a substantial enough change. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Look, if you're responsible with your finances, I mean, frankly, if you're responsible with your finances, you don't need the likes of Klarna, to be honest. I mean, let's be real. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. So, in conclusion here, Klarna is not currently facing immediate financial collapse, but recent reports indicate challenges that suggest financial strain. In the first quarter of 2025, Klarna reported a net loss of $99 million, up from $47 million the previous year, with consumer credit losses rising 17% to $136 million. This increase in losses is attributed to a higher volume of loans, though the global delinquency rate only slightly increased from 0.51% to 0.54%, despite revenue growth of 15% to 701 million and a user base reaching 100 million. These losses have raised concerns, especially as Klarna postponed its planned IPO due to economic uncertainties. Including trade war impacts. Yeah, and also people not paying their damn bills. Posts on X also highlight operational shifts, such as reversing an AI heavy customer service strategy due to quality issues, which incurred costs and may reflect mismanagement. Yeah, because people, they just might go to a different service like Afterpay, because Afterpay may not be integrating AI into their customer service. But I don't know that. I'm just throwing that out there. However, Klarna's leadership remains optimistic, citing partnerships with major retailers like Walmart and DoorDash, and a 2024 profit, a significant improvement from a $1 billion loss in 2022. Damn. The company's valuation, once $45.6 billion in 2021, dropped all the way down to $6.7 billion in 2022, but reportedly climbed back up to $14.6 billion by late 2024, suggesting some recovery. Critics argue that rising buy now, pay later defaults, particularly among financially vulnerable users, and relaxed U.S. regulations could exacerbate risks for Klarna. In summary, while Klarna is not bankrupt, it's doubled its losses. Rising consumer defaults and delayed IPO signal financial pressure, although its growth and strategic adjustments provide some counterbalance. Always consider your financial situation before using buy now, pay later services, as they can contribute to debt if mismanaged. Yeah, if it's me, and this is exactly what I do, I just avoid it outright. I don't know very much about it other than what I've read about it so far, and I really honestly have no interest in it whatsoever. I mean, if you're getting financially strained in your day-to-day life, you got to start cutting stuff out. I mean, really, man, like you got to cut out stuff like streaming services, subscription services. I mean, like, are you paying monthly for certain apps on your phone, or are you dumping like $5 here, $5 there on people that you like to follow, like through Patreon and things like that? You ever give money to GoFundMe or Gifts and Go, like anything that's like charitable, or if you're contributing little bits of money here and there? I mean, all that shit adds up. Or how much is your cell phone plan? Is it like $150 a month? Or are you doing the more common sense direction and you're paying only $20 a month? Because you can use one of those bargain basement carriers, especially if you live in a big city. I mean, look, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, using something like Metro PCS, it was pretty shoddy. I mean, you had to be like pretty tucked into a big city to get consistent service without much interruption. But these days with 5G and just the increase in technology over recent years, I mean, there's really no reason why you can't be using like a $20 a month service. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I use TrackPhone, and I use like the $20 service. I get like 3 gigs of data per month because I spend a lot of time home, and you don't need to use your data when you're at home. Just use your Wi-Fi when you're at home. And the only time that I really need my data for is when I'm driving and I use a navigation app to let me know where are the cops, where are the speed traps, where are the car accidents, like where's everything happening in real time so I can avoid it. But anyway, I'll just digress. I mean, like there's just other things that you really should be worried about before you should start considering buy now, pay later. Cut as much out of your budget as you can. I mean, go shop Goodwill if you have to, or I mean, Salvation Army if things are dire enough, or even hit up some garage sales, yard sales. Go to the flea market. I mean, if you want to go shopping, there's ways that you can really save money and not have to be as quick as to jump on Amazon, which, by the way, there's a lot of websites out there. They sell products cheaper than Amazon, Walmart being one of them. So if you see something on Amazon that you like, take that product and plug it into other shopping sites. You'll probably find that same product cheaper, even with the whole shipping situation if you have Amazon Prime. But anyway, so I'm going to go over here to this article. This is from badcredit.org, which I found to be kind of hilarious that it's on a website called badcredit.org. So Klarna losses double in Q1 as U.S. consumer debt surges to an all-time high. And the key takeaways from this article, it's going to be in quarter one of 2025, Klarna recorded an all-time net loss of $99 million as 17% of its credit loss piled up. 40% of its subprime customers applied for buy now, pay later. Most consumers who use buy now, pay later products rely on multiple loans, often while having other larger balances elsewhere. Yes, of course. See, as time goes on, COVID happened. Then the lockdowns happened. A lot of people got furloughed. Then people got put on the government unemployment. What was it, like $700 a week or something? I mean, like crazy amount of money for not working. Plus the moratoriums on rent. Probably mortgages were probably in that same vein. So basically, people kind of had a moratorium on having to pay a lot of their bills. So they were kind of flush with cash. They should have been saving the money, but they weren't. But they were spending it like crazy. They were elevating their daily lifestyle, going out to eat more often if you were in an area where things were still open or they opened up relatively quickly. But anyway, people, they started living better than they could afford, and they wanted to keep up with it. And inflation started to get crazy. And now people are reaching the point where they've maxed out their credit cards. They've taken out home equity loans. They're getting to the point where they're almost tapped out. And this thing opens up. Klarna, buy now, pay later. It's not brand new. Klarna's been around for a while, but this is just another option that people can take advantage of to just dig further into debt, just to try to keep breathing above water just for one more minute, just a little bit longer. It's kind of scary, man. Like what are things going to look like in a year from now? I mean, the chickens have got to come home to roost eventually. I mean, people can't just keep digging forever. So anyway, so subprime consumers use buy now, pay later out of necessity and as a means of building credit. So getting into the article here, a red flag for anyone tracking U.S. household borrowing and the condition of the buy now, pay later market was Klarna's first quarter earnings. Higher revenue and an all-time high in customers couldn't stop the Swedish fintech company from doubling its net losses to $99 million. Klarna reported a 17% increase in consumer credit losses at $136 million, an indicator that repayment stress is rising among its user base. The company reported its loss rate increasingly modestly from 0.51 to 0.54% of gross merchandise value, but the larger trend is pointing toward growing stress among borrow-to-pay consumers. Klarna recently replaced Affirm as Walmart's exclusive buy now, pay later partner and teamed with DoorDash, pushing BNPL into everyday spending. The company said it had also reached 100 million customers, which is a record. But as BNPL creeps into small ticket and essentials, repayment risk grows, increasingly impossible to ignore. According to a LendingTree survey, 41% of consumers who use BNPL made at least one delayed payment in the last year, up from 34%. Yeah, that's a problem. Approximately 25% of users used it to purchase groceries, almost twice the usage for the prior year. See what I mean? It's like people are tapped out with their credit cards. They're maxing everything out, and now they're having to resort to this platform just to buy food. Dude, that's scary. That's kind of scary, man.
I mean, if that's really what's happening here, I mean, like the numbers seem to suggest that it's on the rise at least. Total US consumer debt reached an all time high of $18.2 trillion, said the New York Fed. Now, how much is that, man? Now, I know like it's like there's what 300 almost 340 million Americans in the country. Now, all of them are not working obviously. You know, we've got a lot of adolescents and a lot of seniors and whatnot too. But if you break that down to every single American man, woman and child, 18.2 trillion divided by what is that? 340 million. That's probably an overestimate. I mean, that's $5,352 per American, whether if you're a day old or if you're 100 years old. As an American citizen, on average, $5,352. That's just consumer debt, isn't it? Yeah, that's consumer debt. Doesn't, I mean, let's see. That probably does not include mortgages because I don't think consumer debt typically includes mortgages, correct? I don't think it does, but maybe that number does factor in mortgages. But I mean, $5,300, man, for every American. That's a lot of money. That's quite a lot. Anyway, moving on. Delinquencies on student loans specifically rose from below 1% to almost 8% in quarter one, fueled by the removal of pandemic era support and enforcement. Renewed enforcement. While late payments on buy now, pay later are not unusual, they usually fail to be reported to the credit bureaus, an important problem for lenders as well as consumers. Klarna and most competitors fail to regularly report payment history to the major credit reporting agencies. Consequently, consumers who miss payments won't necessarily experience an immediate effect on their credit score, but won't benefit from positive credit building for on time repayment either. For the subprime market, it can hide actual risk from lenders and prevent consumers from being included in mainstream credit advancement. So, subprime consumers carry distinctive threats and objectives. The risk of overspending through BNPL is most sharply visible among subprime consumers, as calculated in a January 2025 analysis from the CFPB. Using 2022 data, 63% of consumers who used Buy Now Pay Later had active multiple loans, and one third of consumers borrowed from more than one lender. Nearly 2 in 3 applicants for Buy Now Pay Later were subprime or deep subprime borrowers. Damn. And 78% were accepted by lenders. These customers carried higher balances in other forms of non mortgage debt, such as credit cards and personal loans. Young consumers depended most on Buy Now Pay Later. For 18 to 24-year-olds, 28% of all non-secured borrowing consisted of Buy Now Pay Later, much higher than the 17% median. I mean, and Buy Now Pay Later is not that old, man. I think it's only been around for a couple few years. The Richmond Fed validated the trend, noting that individuals who use Buy Now Pay Later would be less educated, younger, and would have weaker credit profiles, having higher debt burdens. Well, I mean, if Klarna's giving out credit to whoever, I mean, look, people are going to take it. If you're offering them money, they're going to take it. Especially in the here and now, man. Like a lot of people who are younger, they tend to live for today, not for tomorrow. You know what I mean? But according to a new PYMNTS report, or payments, I'm assuming, there is an important insight. 40% of subprime consumers applied for Buy Now Pay Later compared with just 27% for superprime consumers. Subprime borrowers aren't just resorting to Buy Now Pay Later, though. They're choosing it. 21% of consumers with subprime credit use these credit lines for necessities in an attempt to build their credit score. I mean, that's not all that bad, I guess. Another 25% use credit for non essentials for the same reason, making them 30% more likely than high score borrowers to attempt this form of credit building. Despite having high denial rates, subprime customers are 2.3 times more likely to be turned down for credit cards. They are, in fact, trying to obtain mainstream credit products. They're 3.6 times as likely as super prime customers to apply for new credit cards and twice as likely to apply for debt consolidation. So, moving on to buy now, pay later's hidden risks and policy implications. The explosive growth of BNPL more than just the challenge of individual repayment. According to the Richmond Fed, the number of buy now pay later loans originated in the US swelled from 16.8 million in 2019 to 180 million in 2021. That's just 2 years. From 16.8 million to 180 million in 2021, increasing the total loan value from 2 billion to 24 billion dollars. A number of such loans never find their way into the credit reports, keeping borrowers' true obligations in, quote, phantom debt. Such lack of clarity can lead lenders to lend too much, boosting the chances for systemic stress. The Richmond Fed also cites the spillover effects onto other consumer credit products. Consumers might repay buy now, pay later, often automatically, while defaulting on bigger reported loans like cars and credit cards. In response to these mounting concerns, the CFPB in May of 2024 issued a rule that designated buy now, pay later lenders as being credit card issuers subject to the provisions of the Truth in Lending Act. The designation requires the issuance of formal billing notices, refundable credits, and dispute resolution, steps that aim to synchronize consumer protections with those afforded to traditional credit card users. In closing, together, these trends discredit the argument that customers using buy now, pay later are inherently irresponsible and overspent. Instead, they point toward an underlying story about consumers being priced out through institutional obstacles and piecing together short form workarounds. For non prime lenders and fintechs, Klarna's losses represent a sign of things to come and an argument for tighter underwriting, reporting, and borrower support as the world increasingly goes deep into buy now, pay later. This is only going to get worse, man. Sebastian Siemiatowski, hope I'm saying that right. Probably not, but let's hope for the best. Co-founder and CEO of Klarna was upbeat. Quote, our AI first strategy is driving exceptional returns. We're outpacing competitors. Our merchant network is scaling rapidly, and our next gen products are reshaping money management for millions. End quote. Well, I mean, they're trying to implement AI just to save more money, maximize the amount they can get. I mean, I don't know, man. Do you want AI bots chasing after you if you don't pay your bills on time? I mean, I don't know, man. To each his own. I don't know if I want Skynet freaking following me around, hounding me to pay them. So anyway, the person who wrote this article, Eric Bank, finance writer. Again, this is on badcredit.org, which you can find on this website. It was a pretty lengthy article, but it was very in depth and it covered quite a bit. So I figured it was worth taking a look at. This was posted on May 23rd of 2025. Reviewed by Adam West. I assume that's not Mayor Adam West. And edited by Lillian Guevara Castro. So yeah, good article. Good article. And I'll leave that down in the description if you just want to, get lazy and just click on it. I mean, not sure why you'd want to because I just read it to you. But anyway, I've got one more thing to check out. This is over on YouTube on the channel Upper Echelon. They've got the check mark. So they're official. 755,000 subscribers. So they are red hot. They know what they're talking about. So I thought I'd give this a go. This was just posted 3 days ago, and it's a pretty good analysis with Klarna. A lot of what was just discussed is probably going to be mentioned in the video, but it's always good to get insight from another person or another entity with regard to what's being discussed. So let's give this a go. See what they've got to say about this. Upper Echelon.
This video is brought to you by Ground News.
Oh,
Stick
yeah,
around to hear
it's
more
brought
about the
to you by
special
Ground
offer
News,
they're
by the
providing
way.
to the entire Upper Echelon.
Which I do have Ground News. I don't pay for it, but I have Ground News. I think you get 5 free articles a day. I think you do. So you can get it. You can use it. It's actually really cool. Not that I'm endorsing it or anything. I'm just saying that I've got it on my phone, and it is pretty convenient to use if you're just looking for something quick to read, keeping up with current events and whatnot. Anyway.
Community. How many people watching this have heard of a concept called BNPL, or Buy Now, Pay Later? Odds are pretty high that most of you have, in fact, heard of it in some capacity or another, because BNPL is actually an extremely popular trend right now. Predominantly among
Very.
Generation Z and millennial customers, buy now, pay later represents a financing option that they trust even more than credit cards. But over the span of just 3 to 4 years, instead of becoming a cornerstone in the world of
Well, it's because they're told they don't have to pay interest. That's why a lot of younger people are going for it. Plus, Klarna, what was it, $1,000 that you can qualify for through Klarna? I mean, most young people, I mean, if you're probably under the age of like 22, unless you've been working for a few years, you're probably not going to easily find a credit card with the $1,000 limit unless you're making pretty damn good money starting out. At
consumer
least that was my
financing, as it was
experience when I
intended
was
to be
in
one of
my
the
early
most
20s.
prominent financial technology startups in history, has more so crashed and burned under the weight of its broken economic business model, which relies on a perpetual spiral of debt, which is completely, obviously, unsustainable. Meet Klarna. Klarna is a
Meet
Swedish
Klarna.
company, widely regarded back in 2021 and 2022 as
Uh,
one of the most valuable startups in the entire world. At that time, the company was valued at over $45 billion,
Crazy.
seemingly on
Ain't worth
track to
that
go
now.
public in the United States stock
Nope.
market. But long before that could ever happen, Klarna would be subjected to a frankly stunning level of managerial and business model failure, which, if we're being completely honest
Let's
here,
go.
was entirely predictable for anyone with a brain. Let me explain that. BNPL as a concept isn't
Yeah.
actually anything new. Far from it, in fact. Buy now, pay later, conceptually, is just the most recent buzzword in a long history of different financing options, which include things like credit cards, car loans, and mortgages.
Yeah, I mean this concept has been around for probably hundreds of years. I mean, hell, like being in debt and being chained to a debtor. I mean, there's even passages in the Bible referencing being in debt to somebody and how it's a bad thing, and you just can't get ahead in life if you're just putting yourself in debt. That's why you should just like if you can only afford like a $3,000 card, that's what you got to buy. That's it. That's it. And if you can't afford a brand new fancy flat screen TV, well, you're just gonna have to go down to I don't know, like freaking Goodwill or something, and find yourself an old school tube TV or whatever, or ask a friend to borrow one or whatever. You know what I mean? Like just you can't buy shit you can't afford, and people just don't understand that these days.
Financing a purchase
And
is
you know
not
what's really frustrating? Sorry to pause again, but it's frustrating when you keep hearing the like young people saying that, well, nobody taught me about personal finance. I didn't understand. I mean, all I did was just sign on the line. I thought that if you pay the minimum payments for your credit card, I thought that was all you had to pay. I didn't know that you had to pay more than that. I didn't know you could pay more than that. I thought that's just what you paid. I mean, it's financial stupidity and it's mind numbing that people are not being taught the bare basics of personal finance. Just it kind of drives me crazy to be honest.
by itself inherently bad. And one of the best ways to think about that is a car or a house. If you can't afford to buy a car right now, but the car lets you travel 35 minutes to a higher paying job in a different town, financing the purchase has actual material value for you.
Yeah, I
Yes, you can't
suppose.
afford to buy the item itself all at once and you go in debt to do so.
Doesn't mean you buy
But
a new
even if you
Mercedes
splurge
though.
a little bit and get the heated seats or the better stereo,
Yeah, that's stupid.
onboarding a cost of, let's say, $400 per month while accessing job opportunities that give you an increase of $900 per month or more is an extremely straightforward financial calculation. In the case of real estate, not only would you be acquiring a place to live, which has value inherently, but provided you maintain the mortgage payments responsibly, you're also building equity in that purchase, which presumably
Right, you are, but you also have to count on maintaining employment for 30 years, which most people don't do. What's the average turnover rate? It's something like what, 7 years or something? And also the amount of time that somebody stays in a house that they have a mortgage on ain't that long either. It's like I don't know the exact number, but I don't believe it's any longer than like 10, maybe 15 years, which is enough time for you to get some equity in the house. Plus, ideally your house increases in value over time, although that's not a guarantee. Certainly not a guarantee, but generally speaking, that's supposed to be what happens. But anyway,
equates to much more value later down the line in terms of resale or retirement. Financing a big purchase, or rather a necessary purchase, can make total sense. But things get a little bit less clear when you start talking about credit cards. Credit cards are fundamentally very similar to a buy now, pay later type of loan, but there's still
pay
some
in
key
full each
differences.
month, guys.
For starters,
Pay in
credit cards
full
operate with
each
a
month,
fixed interest rate, so
every month.
you're never really dealing with unexpected payments and late fees. Second, the barrier of entry for actually getting and using a credit card is relatively high, with certain offers requiring down payments or having low initial credit limits. But the bottom line is that
Ah, shit. What's going on? Come on, man.
credit cards often can be predatory, misused, or damaging. However, credit cards, for all of their
My
many
bad.
flaws, pale in comparison
I
to
think
something like Klarna,
I don't know what I
in
did.
part because they're far more regulated, but I'll talk about that later on. More so because, much the same way credit cards opened up broader access to unaffordable spending for some people, Klarna and companies with a similar business model take it like 15 intentional steps further. This is an imperfect explanation, I know that fully, and there's different laws in different countries as well. But for the sake of time, here it is. Traditional credit companies operate around essential ranking systems before even letting you become a customer. If you do get a credit card or if you don't make your payments, they'll pursue you. But when
Right.
that happens, either one, it becomes known to pretty much every other similar company out there. However, buy now, pay later firms, such as Klarna, don't quite operate like that. Instead of having a front loaded check system, which other companies can see, or an increase in credit limit, which is visible to all of them if you're approved, Klarna operates by offering the ability to finance all sorts of small individual purchases directly at checkout.
Right.
As evidence of this, you can look at how Klarna became the exclusive provider of BNPL loans for the retail giant Walmart in advance of a highly anticipated IPO, or how they partnered directly with DoorDash so that people can finance the purchase of individual fast food meals and pay.
Yeah, that's ridiculous too, and they're getting roasted for that. They have been for a while. People are just roasting the hell out of them on social media regarding that. So you're going to buy now, pay later, a burger or a sandwich or a combo meal. You're going to split that up into 3 or 4 payments, a $10, $15 lunch. It's just
For them
crazy.
later. Of course, if you don't pay, companies such as Klarna can certainly report that activity to credit bureaus, which then affects
I
you
mean,
in a
buy a
variety of
packet of
ways.
ramen noodles,
But as per their
get some rice and
website,
beans
they
at the
typically
store,
run soft checks, not hard checks at the
get a
onset,
can of beef
which means
stew.
that not only are they deliberately focusing as much as possible on financing small purchases, they're also doing this with a softer check system, which isn't visible to other lenders. Functionally, buy now, pay later lending companies are facilitating debt spirals and deliberately targeting a more vulnerable demographic of people that have less money and
Uh-huh.
lower financial literacy in the first place. Hopefully
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and they tend to care a little less too. If Klarna is not affecting their credit score, guess who's the first company they're not going to pay back?
Fun
Which is
fact about the
probably
channel
why
here, I
their
get absolutely
their valuation's
bombarded
probably
by
going down.
potential video sponsors, sometimes on a daily basis. But the problem with that is that it's almost always some sort of crypto company, AI, or a mobile game. And those aren't the companies I want
Yeah, we're gonna
to
skip
sponsor.
ahead of that. I don't really
The Vantage plan today. Again, link down below,
not really interested
ground.news/Echelon
in that. I guess you can
for
use that
40%
QR
off a
code if
Vantage
you
plan
must,
today. Big
if
thank you to
you'd like.
Ground News for continuing to sponsor the channel.
Yeah,
So,
why
how
not?
do we think this
Let
business
them
model
shout them
is
out.
serving them?
Why not?
How is Klarna doing under this framework that we've now fully discussed? Well, it's going just about how you should probably expect it to be going. Because when you target that kind of demographic with predatory loans for individual fast food or consumer electronics purchases, you run into an issue where maybe the person taking out the loan to buy Chipotle or imitation off brand sneakers doesn't really have a burning desire to pay that loan off, or
No, I
far
would
more
say
likely in
not.
this case, doesn't even pay attention to it. The closest
Probably
comparison
not.
I can draw here is something called
I
payday
doubt it.
loans, which are relatively small short term loan agreements, sometimes with insane interest rate costs attached to them, that are widely considered to be horrifically predatory. They do not care whether or not you can meet other financial obligations, often using something called automatic repayment authorization forms, so that they'll automatically get back the money that you borrowed plus interest on a particular date when you get your next paycheck. They'll just pull it directly out of your bank account. Buy now, pay later as a format is basically payday loans. They just have less of the safety measures.
Uh-huh.
It's mainstream adoption of a predatory lending system with less of the predatory enforcement practices.
Wait, so he's saying that they don't automatically take it out of your account, that you have to be proactive in paying them back in those installments? Am I hearing that right?
Which may sound good on paper to some people, I get that. But there is a reason that loan companies use those predatory tactics when dealing with the concept of small individual purchase
Well, yeah, they
loans
want you to
from
pay
people who
interest,
don't
or they want you
necessarily
to
have
be
a readily
obligated to.
available option
That's
or
how they make money.
intention of ever paying it back.
I mean, look, you have to ask yourself, like, how is Klarna
sustainable as a company? How do they make money? It's the same way that credit cards. That's how they stay sustainable. They count on you to miss a payment or to pay the bare minimum, so you are tied to an interest rate, and you have to pay the interest rate because that's how companies like Visa, Mastercard, Discover, American Express. That's how they make money. They make money because they count on people to rack up credit card debt, and it takes them months and months to pay down the balance. But if everybody just paid on time with Klarna, I mean, how could they survive as a company? I don't know. Maybe it's my ignorance. I don't know.
Hopefully, it's already becoming quite obvious why Klarna has one of the most asinine business models I can possibly think of. But let's really paint the picture, okay? In 2021, Klarna was raising over
Let's go.
$600 million at a record $45.6 billion valuation. That's insane for a startup company. But just
Well,
one
it's
year
kind of
later,
insane when you raise less than $1 billion and they say, okay, we raised about $700 million. All right, well, it sounds like you're worth 45 billion to me. I mean, that's the most ridiculous math that I've ever heard.
July of 2022, they tried to fundraise again with a valuation of only $6 billion this time. That is a stunning
Who
decline
is
in value,
valuating them?
but the problems were only getting started. Most recently, first quarter 2025, the company reported that they'd lost almost $100 million so far in the year.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's not a good thing, but plenty of companies
obviously.
out there operate at a loss, so how does it compare to the year prior? Not so good, actually, because in 2024, as per their financial disclosures, first quarter losses were roughly 47 million, after you convert Swedish krona to American dollars, that is. They doubled their quarterly losses year over year, because it turns out when you mass lend money to people that can't or just don't care to pay you back, the business suffers.
Right.
It gets so much better, though. Klarna isn't just a predatory company, predatory in my opinion at least. They're also trend chasers. What I mean by this is that in 2024, during the height of the Silicon Valley AI craze, Klarna decided to replace their existing customer support options with AI
Yeah.
agents.
Apparently
This was
that pissed off a
described as
lot
a
of people too.
tremendous cost cutting initiative that would allegedly supply the company with tens of millions of dollars in additional revenue. Later
Oh,
that year, December of 2024, CEO
yeah, because they can fire a bunch of people who are answering the phones for them, and they could just replace it with AI. Which, I mean, it does cost money to have AI. I mean, they have to either build the infrastructure within, or they contract that out to some other AI provider to handle the services for them. But I mean, it's obviously going to be a lot cheaper than hiring like 700 people to answer the phone, which they let go apparently,
Sebastian
and now they're
Shimitkowski
trying to get them back,
doubled
I
and
guess.
tripled down on this move after the company ceased hiring and made it clear that AI would allegedly be capable of replacing all jobs eventually, saying things like, quote,
That is
people
crazy.
internally at Klarna are just rallying to deploy as much efficiency AI as they can. We're going to give some of the improvements that the efficiency that AI provides by increasing the pace at which the salaries of our employees increase, end quote.
Uh
Sounds
huh.
good, right? Great company, solid
Yeah.
business
Right.
model, ostentatious display of modern technology. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
Everything. Everything can go wrong.
Everything.
Once again, speaking to Bloomberg in mid 2025, May 8th to be precise, Shimitkowski had this to say, quote, from a brand perspective, a company perspective, I just think it's so critical that you are clear to your customer that there will always be a human if you want. And further down, as cost unfortunately seems to have been a too predominant evaluation factor when organizing this, what you end up having is lower quality. Really investing
Of
in the quality
course.
of the human support is the way of the future for us.
Yes.
End quote. That's a pretty
Nobody
shocking
likes
about
talking to
face
a
when you really
machine,
think about it,
not even
especially when you
an AI
consider that
one.
he was crowing to high heaven about how effective AI would be in saving up to $40 million for the company. But I guess it's not all bad news, right? In August of 2024, Klarna issued a press release about how revenue was up 20.
Yeah, but if they're saving $40 million, they still lost 99 million. I don't. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but I don't think that's in the positive.
7%, and further affirmed or reaffirmed their commitment to having Klarna be available at every retail checkout. Later on, in March of 2025, they officially filed their prospectus with the SEC, confirming their intention to
Oh
go
yeah.
public. It all sounds
Okay.
good on the surface with the corporate doublespeak lens applied to it. But if you have a faulty business model, increasing the availability of your
Read about that
service does
fine
not
print, man.
increase profit. Increasing the amount of people that you're lending to if those people aren't paying you back, which they're not,
True.
only increases your losses.
Some are, though,
And as
to
far
be
as I can
fair.
tell, that's precisely what's happening to Klarna. According to CNBC sources, in April of 2025, just one short month after they initially filed with the SEC to begin with, Klarna was deciding to delay their plans for an IPO, citing market turbulence in the wake of the Trump tariffs. But I think it's important to
Why?
understand that this is right
It's
around
not
the
really
same exact
affected the
time
consumers
that the
that much
company
at
is
all.
publicly losing
Not yet.
twice as much money as last year, despite a massively expanded customer base, supposedly. Do we see the problem here? They cut their workforce by like 20 to 40% easily on the basis
Uh-huh.
that AI would save them tens of millions of dollars, and now they're backtracking quickly. They massively
Whoopsie.
increased the number of people using the service, generally, making it more and more ubiquitously available, and yet the losses are spiraling. More and more people are using multiple BNPL loans. 23% say that
Yep.
they've had 3 or more active at one time. Two-thirds of their users, according to LendingTree survey data, say that they'd consider using the service for food delivery, like DoorDash, and over 60% of users incorrectly believe that making on time payments can help your credit score. But it
Oh,
can't do that. Only
right, because they don't report
13%
it.
of buy now, pay later service users, okay, and that's a horrifying statistic, only 13% correctly understand that you have all of the downside credit score risk with none of the upside credit score benefits. Using the
Right.
service cannot improve your credit score ever. It can only hurt
Ever.
it. Meanwhile, as we remember that BNPL services have a
Yikes.
customer base that primarily skews younger, such as Gen Z and millennials,
Yep.
meanwhile, student
Naive.
loan delinquency rates are surging eightfold as the federal pause, in the
Damn.
United States at least, on reporting those delinquencies came to an end. All in context, because I'm throwing a lot of data at people right now.
They put a
All in
pause on
context, my
reporting
point is this:
delinquencies.
Klarna, one of the darling fintech startups of the past decade or so, at least internationally, is a predatory, ill conceived business model which fails to consider the fact that lending obscene amounts of money to people who likely will never pay you back so that they can buy
Uh-huh.
DoorDash, AirPods, and cheap electronics is probably not the way to generate real revenue.
Probably not.
Sure, in May of 2025, the Trump administration voided a previous rule that would hold BNPL companies accountable under the same regulations as credit cards, which
Huh.
gives them a little bit more runway to be increasingly predatory. But that runway will end eventually. And a faulty business model built around the premise of high risk lending, when there's also basically nothing for you to repossess if your customer can't pay, what are you going to do?
True.
Take the Chipotle burrito back from them to
Exactly.
get your money? A faulty business model like that does.
Well, they're not even reporting mispayments to the credit bureaus, correct? I think I read that Klarna is not actually reporting that stuff. So, I mean, if somebody just doesn't pay them, I mean, like they don't really have that severe of consequences to deal with like they would with a credit card. I mean, with a credit card, they'll go after their wages if they have to. They'll start garnishing their shit, which I don't think Klarna's doing that. I could be wrong, but I
Doesn't
don't
just
think they are.
miraculously fix itself, which leaves the doomed economics of Klarna as a buy now, pay never type of lifestyle. Like I said early in the
Right.
video, it kind of feels like anyone with a brain should have been able to see that coming. Anyway, if you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. The video's
Yeah, man. Check it out. Check out the channel, Upper Echelon. That was a great video. That was a really good analysis. He actually showed a lot of data too, which I appreciated in the video. So yeah, man, that's Klarna. That's buy now, pay later, and I mean there's Afterpay. There's I know there's a handful of them, and like they said in the video, people aren't just using Klarna exclusively. They're using all these other ones too. It just seems like they're just maxing out their available credit just one by one, just trying to sweep through as much as they can, and eventually they might find themselves falling into the payday loan black hole, which God forbid, man, no, don't ever go into that situation. That's a freaking nightmare. Not only like a payday loan, but people they'll do title loans, or they might get to the point where they're hitting up pawn shops and they're pawning stuff like their electronics and whatnot. And yeah, that's when things get really dire, like on the individual level. But anyway, yeah, that's Klarna, and that's all I got. So see you later.